Ever have one of those moments where you just, don't perform quite as well as you expect?
Yeah, definitely.
What if sometimes there's this hidden pressure going on, not really about your talent, but maybe about negative ideas linked to, say, groups you're part of?
Hmm.
That's what we're getting into today, stereotype threat. We're looking at, well, what it is, who it might affect, and how it can kind of subtly mess with performance.
Right. And our sources today really lay the groundwork for understanding it.
Okay, so let's start there. What is stereotype threat exactly?
Simply put, it's the risk, or maybe the fear, of confirming a negative stereotype about your group.
So it's not about whether the stereotype is true.
Not at all. The key thing is the anxiety this perceived risk creates,
Hmm.
especially when that stereotype feels relevant to, what you're doing at that moment.
Got it. So imagine there's a stereotype that, say, Group X isn't good at math.
Okay.
If someone from Group X is then faced with a tough math test, this threat could kick in.
Precisely. That fear, that worry about confirming the stereotype, maybe even just to yourself, it adds this extra layer of mental noise.
Like a distraction.
Yeah, a burden. It can ramp up anxiety, make it harder to focus, and will ultimately get in the way of doing your best on the actual task.
And this isn't just about one or two specific groups, is it? It sounds like it could affect lots of people.
Absolutely. Any group that has some kind of negative stereotype associated with performance in a certain area,
Mm-hmm.
well, members of that group can be vulnerable. Think gender, age, race, even profession sometimes.
Wow. And you mentioned anxiety. Is it just a feeling, or are there, like, physical effects too?
Oh, it's more than just psychological. Research shows stereotype threat can actually trigger physiological stress responses. Like increased heart rate, blood pressure,
Think
the
of it
body reacts.
So it's a real, tangible stress.
Definitely. It's the body responding to this perceived threat of confirming a negative expectation.
And it seems like our surroundings, the environment we're in, can make this better or worse.
Hugely important. Yeah, even subtle cues in the environment can act as reminders of the stereotype, which can heighten that feeling of threat.
Like what kind of cues?
Well, it could be anything, really.
Yeah.
Maybe the demographic makeup of the room, seemingly small comments that draw attention to group differences, that kind of thing. It doesn't have to be obvious.
Right, like a little nudge that makes you suddenly very aware of the stereotype.
Exactly. And we've seen clear evidence of this in experiments, haven't we?
Yeah, I was thinking about those studies like the ones Steele and Aronson did with standardized tests.
Mm-hmm. Those classic studies really showed how performance could shift depending on how a test was framed. Just suggesting a test measures ability when a negative stereotype about that ability exists for your group can be enough to affect scores.
Okay, so understanding this is one thing. What can actually be done about it, especially thinking about places like schools or workplaces?
That's the key question. Creating genuinely inclusive environments is huge. Places where individual potential is really emphasized, rather than group identity being linked to ability.
Fostering a sense of belonging, maybe?
Exactly. That can really diminish the power these negative stereotypes hold in that specific context, making people feel seen as individuals.
It's important, though, to separate this from outright discrimination, right? They're related, but not the same.
Good point. Yes. Discrimination is more external, someone acting on prejudice toward you. Stereotype threat is internal.
Yeah.
It's your experience, your worry about confirming that stereotype yourself.
They can definitely feed into each other, I imagine.
Oh, for sure. But the mechanism is different. One's an action from outside. The other is a pressure felt inside.
And constantly feeling that internal pressure, that sense of being potentially judged by a negative stereotype, that must affect how people see themselves long term.
It really can, yeah. It can influence identity development, how much someone feels they belong in certain fields, maybe even their motivation to stick with things where their group is negatively stereotyped.
But interestingly, could just knowing about stereotype threat, like we're discussing now, actually help reduce its impact?
There's some evidence pointing that way, yes. If you understand that the anxiety you're feeling might be due to this situational pressure, this threat, rather than your own lack of ability.
Ah, so you can kind of reframe it.
Potentially, yes. You can attribute the anxiety to the situation, not to yourself, which might lessen its power to disrupt your performance. Awareness can be a buffer sometimes.
And when you think about this happening repeatedly over time, it's pretty clear how it could contribute to those bigger achievement gaps we sometimes see between groups.
Precisely. It's not just about one bad test score. The cumulative impact of facing this threat again and again can really shape opportunities and outcomes over a lifetime.
So if we boil it down, the main takeaway is that stereotype threat is this subtle but really quite powerful psychological phenomenon. It's about the weight of negative expectations, not about actual ability.
That's the critical distinction to grasp. It undermines potential.
Absolutely. Really makes you think, doesn't it? Consider the different environments you find yourself in: work, school, social settings. How might subtle cues, or even just the context, be influencing your own performance or the experiences of people around you?
Yeah, how might those unseen pressures be playing out?
It's definitely a powerful lens for thinking about our everyday interactions and performance, something to keep reflecting on.